How to make a simple shed or cabin door. My first cabin doors turned out okay, but I made a lot of mistakes. This time the cabin doors fit better and sealed better too. I'll show you how I did it. I start with the material cut out from my T1-11 siding. First I cut a 1/2 inch off each of the sides except the bottom for clearance. If there's the overlap strip like you see there, I just cut the whole thing off. I got plexiglass squares for the windows. Cut the window hole exactly the size of the plexiglass square and checked fit, and then started painting. Butterfly wings. The trim on the back side of the door is the same size as the door. The trim on the front side of the door, I had the outswing portion a little bit overhanging, as well as the top part overhanging slightly, so it would help seal the wind gap. So the trim on the back of the door is flush with the edge of the T1-11. So the trim on the hinge side is flush, and the trim on the knob side and the top overhangs by about 1 inch over the T1-11 on the outside of the door. This will help block some wind and make sure you cover any gaps. So on the front, you'll cut your middle trim pieces 1 inch longer. You'll also cut your vertical trim 1 inch longer than on the back side. For the window, I cut the trim pieces with about a 1 inch overhang over the hole. I selected screws long enough to go through both pieces of trim and the T1-11 without poking through the other side. I then screwed in the back side trim pieces partway into the T1-11, but not so the screws would poke through where the front side trim goes. I then flipped over the door and checked the fit one more time of the window. This caulk is clear, but it comes out white until it dries. I caulked the trim overhang, pressed in the plexiglass window, caulked on top, and started assembling the trim. Put on the front side trim, then I used the same screws and screwed in all the way through the 3 layers on the front side. Then I screwed the back side screws in the rest of the way. Assembling the rest of the trim, again with the hinge side flush and bottom side flush with the T1-11 edge, and the knob side and top side overhanging about 1 inch. Then did all the screws fully on the front side and finished all of the back side screws. I then finished caulking and touched up the paint over top of the screw holes. I used a lot of reclaim and leftover materials for this, so this is a mix of Rust-Oleum, hammered finish, and black finish for this trim. Make sure the fit isn't too tight on the bottom. I used some spacers. In this case, I had some old gloves lying around to sit the door on top while I was assembling it. Hanging the door, first I installed the trim where the hinges have to go. So I had some leftover hinges from a previous project, so they don't all match in this case, but they work just fine. But I had to do 2 strips of trim to be able to accommodate the longer hinges that I had. So I installed all the hinges. I installed the other door the same way. Added hardware. Check out my other cabin videos and let me know your thoughts in the comments.